James says, the biggest thing that we need to do as Black people is to build our own businesses. But what has been the main thing, as you think about it, has been in the way? What stops us?
Lack of education.
Funding. What else? Someone said, what else?
Fear.
Lack of education.
Lack of education. Well, you don't even need. I mean, you can have education. I mean, just learning, like
Yeah.
what to do. Right. That's true. So I see what you're saying. Funding. So funding. So first of all, it seems like everybody in this room has these. Everybody has these great ideas, and that's the first thing you got to do is figure out what is something that you're passionate about. I used to write this article for the Spokesman Recorder on starting a business. I don't know if you guys. It was like maybe like a couple of years, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. And every week I would talk about different businesses and like how you start them. But the thing is, what are you passionate about? So it's got to be something that you are clearly passionate about, because you, guess what, you're gonna be the only employee for a while. You're gonna be you're gonna be the only employee when the rest of the people who you don't trust, you have to get rid of. Okay? So it's got to be something that you truly, truly love. Okay? Like I started my law practice back in 2000, and I told my family I wanted to do it. Now, one thing that helped me out though is that I actually borrowed money from my mom to start it, because So I'm gonna just tell you, if you can borrow money from somebody, a relative, if you can, that is a good way to do it. That did with no interest. But if you can borrow, and even if it's a couple $1,000, because now with the internet, you can start businesses so much cheaper than we could back years ago. I mean, you can literally, one thing I want you to always remember is keep your overhead low. Because I made that mistake of trying to go in and have this nice building. Well, I had to have a building, but just this thing that didn't need. And then when I look back, when I started helping other businesses start, I said, you don't need that. You only get absolutely what you have to have, and until your books are going to show you that you should move to the next level. Another thing about keeping your overhead low is you should come up with a 6-month budget. Whatever business you have, 6-month budget is how you're going to make sure you're paying all your licensing. So I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Licensings and everything that you need to do to keep your business running. A 6-month plan. And you read books and talk about a 6-month plan, but you literally put it down on paper and know like how much it's going to cost me. And if you can now, because I can tell you a lot of times your new businesses, banks don't usually loan money for new businesses. What they usually want is they want like 1 to 2 years of profit and loss statements, which basically they want to see money coming in, money going out. But if we can just get some Black business bank owners, I actually had a banker so my business was in Louisiana. I actually had a banker there she was at Chase Bank, and she was the vice president, and she was loaning money to Black people. They got rid of her, of course. But a lot of us had small loans, like $10,000 loan, that could go a long ways in a brand new business. Honey, that's your challenge. Banks. We're going to start a bank here.
Hey, nothing's too tall.
You're right. That from her name was Shireen, and Shireen helped so many businesses start because they just needed that money. Just a few dollars. But anyway, if you don't have that, even if you can borrow from a family member, borrow a couple $1,000. Money is one of the key to start. But if you don't have it, you can still do without it. I had a lot of my clients who started. I had a client who started a cement company with $0. I had a client that started a cleaning company with $0. Because what it is they did all the work themselves. So that's another thing. If you're doing all the work yourself, like you're doing one work yourself, okay, all right. So if you're doing the work yourself, then you can really start your business. So that's one thing you got. You are the source if you don't have the money. Some people have asked me about, should I start an LLC or should I start a corporation? Well, let me talk to you about that. In Minnesota, they have changed the LLCs now to where you actually, so if someone, say you have your catering business and you're catering, well say you have a catering place and someone's there someone's there and they slip and fall, and they really bad off, right? And they don't want to sue you because they slipped and fell in your catering company, whatever. With a corporation, it's been very hard for them to get to your personal assets. Extremely hard. It is almost, it's more difficult to get to it than an LLC. Now, LLC, you're exposed more, even though Minnesota has tried to change the law on it to make it more, to cover and protect you as much, you're still not as protected under an LLC like your corporation. But, so when you decided to start what you want to be, I've always recommended to my clients to do a corporation. I always recommend corporation, first of all, because I think big. First of all, what if you want to grow, okay? LLC, and actually, to be honest with you, it actually doesn't sound as big as a corporation. So why not take it? It doesn't cost you any extra money to do it. And another thing, so when you start a corporation, you got to remember to do this stuff. In order for what they call pierce the corporate veil, if someone sues you personally, you have to do two things. You have to have a meeting of directors. You got to pick some people to be on your board. And actually, and it can be your mom, it can be your sister, doesn't matter.
It can be you, sir.
Yeah, you got to pick somebody on your board, because the reason why. So let's do it. You got to pick somebody on your board. You got to have your first meeting within a year of time that you form this corporation. Those are two really important things. You must have minutes. All this I'll tell you what, all this is on the internet. You can just Google it. You can get minutes. You can draft yourself, and minutes and bylaws. You have the minutes from your meeting and the bylaws from your meeting, and you need to have met within the first year. Because if you don't do those things, then say a lawyer like me could come along, sue the company, and what I'm going to want to know is if you did those things. If you didn't do those things, I'm going to say, Your Honor, I want to get to their personal. We are piercing the corporate veil. So if you have those things, that is what you have. That's all you have to prove. Is that you have operated as a corporation. Those are the three things you must do. Okay. If you're LLC, you must have meetings. You must have minutes. The same thing, but courts are generally more lenient in allowing that. Okay. So that's one thing we'll talk to you about. Another thing about corporations too, and it may sound like it's big. It's something that I think that like a lot of my clients didn't think about, because these are things you need to think about to make you grow. Okay, having an INC behind your name makes you look profitable. A lot of people, believe it or not, want to go patronize business that look profitable. I had somebody come to my law firm and ask me what car was that I was driving outside the parking lot. Because like if that's your car, then I don't want to hire you. I mean, unfortunately, you need to look profitable, and that INC behind your name. And for people who have not incorporated yet, because you guys are so much more techy than my generation, it is so easy to incorporate yourself. Unfortunately, you don't even need a lawyer. You go to the Secretary of State's website. I think it's last one I did was it was 145 or 155. For the Secretary of State's website, you choose incorporations. It actually walks you through every single step. Now, one thing you have to also get, you have to get an agent of service of process. What that is you have to have somebody that you pick, family member, friend, who will be served for any like letters or anything, or if someone sues a corporation. So you have to make sure you have that. So just that, you go to the website, you do that, and literally it takes 15, 20 minutes. First thing you do your name search, you go to the website and do it. You can form your own corporation. So you got your website and corporation, you're rolling. Another thing you need to do is you need to make sure you get your, they kind of added a new name, it's called the EIN, but it's a federal tax ID. I used to have my accountants do that when I had my firm for my clients, until I realized how easy it was. I was like, he's been charging me for this, and I can do this myself. It took me 15 minutes. So you can literally go to but make sure it is the real IRS, because there are fake IRS websites out there. You don't know that? Mm-hmm. There are fake ones, and it will take your information. So make sure it is the legitimate IRS website. You go to that, and you can tell. If you keep reading, scrolling down, you'll see that it's IRS. You literally can do that in 15, 20 minutes. Get that. You need that. Another thing is, If you're in Minnesota, you have to get a Minnesota tax ID. And so how you do that is the easiest way is just to call, because they don't have the system set up like IRS. We do it online as well. It's easier just to call the Minnesota Department of Revenue phone number. And I'm gonna give it to you guys. This is the business registration number. It's 651-282-5225. And I'm telling you this is important, because when I was assistant commissioner, Minnesota Department of Revenue, I had like a weekly meetings. It was weekly meetings about people who they were shutting down. So because it comes up, sometimes they come up to the commissioner level because they wasn't registered, they didn't get their Minnesota tax ID. And so they have an investigative department that goes out and finds businesses that have not registered with them. And they put the little things, you guys may have seen it before, it's like a little thing in the window says you're shut down. I don't know if you've seen it, but like these orange things on businesses, they will shut you down. And then what happens is, if they shut you down, you got to pay a penalty in order to get it back open. So why don't even go through that? Just go ahead and register.
So for clarity, the EIN number is different from the Minnesota tax ID?
Yes. So the EIN number is called a federal tax ID. You can't open up a bank account without that. They want to see that federal tax. You know, actually, I think we opened a bank account for the other business. Here in Minnesota, they wanted both. They wanted their Minnesota tax identification number and the federal. So the federal one, if they call it EIN or federal tax ID, so that one you need to do in the Minnesota tax ID. I'm gonna give you this number one more time. It's 651-282-5225. And we asked them to be nice, and they were nice on there. I think they're still pretty nice. They will even tell you when you call there what else sometimes you need. So like a lot of times once you get this, they're gonna say, are you gonna have any employees? You say yes, and so you gotta go call. You're gonna give your number. You gotta call Office of Workers' Comp or whatever. But make sure you have, because there's a whole section in the Minnesota Department of Revenue. All they do is just look for businesses shut down, because they have to register with them and pay business taxes. Another thing you need to do. So I heard different kind of businesses in here. So there is an Department of Labor and Department of Commerce also license a lot of businesses. You got to make sure what business you have has all the proper licenses, because they will shut us down. Okay. So how you find out is they have the toll-free numbers to Department of Labor. A lot of you might need occupational license in here for some of the business I was hearing, and then some of you might need license to the Department of Commerce. So those are two places you need to check for any license. Generally, they're like $100. Most of those licenses. Yeah. So those are the 3 points I want you to remember from me. If I don't take anything away, it will make sure that you have the proper licenses: the Minnesota state ID, the federal tax ID, and your operating license. I know there is one for food service. I think there is one for food service. What business are in here?
I'm jumping into real estate nonprofit.
Well, of course, you're into real estate. There's definitely real estate licensing for us. You have to get real estate licensing things. And then you guys are licenses too. What's your business?
Nonprofit.
Well,
Social services, I thought.
yeah. So nonprofit social services. Yeah, maybe not. Well, nonprofit, of course, gives you nonprofit certification, all that stuff. But okay. But just make sure, check with the Department of Labor that you don't have to get anything else. What's your business again?
Makeup artistry, with real estate.
Yeah, there's a licensing thing you have to get too. So yours could be the cosmetology board?
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not to.
Oh, no, go
I have
ahead.
a question. So if I'm looking basically like more, say, like split properties, not like, sell to other people like that.
But you have to buy it though.
Right.
So in order to buy a
I still
property,
need to have the
you
license.
still gotta have the license.
Okay.
Yeah. You need to better to buy this, you gotta have the license to do it. Like Jerry, you have your license, right? Yeah, you gotta buy. And actually, the real estate licensing board, is kind of different. There's a test. I'm not as familiar with the one in Minnesota as it was in Louisiana, but how long was the test? Like, how long was it for?
So there's two tests here, the state and the national. I think the state is 45 questions, and then the national, I believe, is 85 questions.
Did you, okay.
You have
But you have to have the comprehension course in order to take the test, though.
Okay.
Yeah, you gotta take a class for both of these tests, yeah, I remember the real, yeah.
I believe you can sell and buy 6 properties until you need a license.
Okay.
So you, on your 7th one, you do have to get a real estate license, for residential. Residential.
Okay.
You do
That's
up
what-
to 5.
Yeah.
It was 5 now? Wasn't it 10 at one point?
So I basically have to take the course then, the actual course then.
I would definitely take a course for that,
Yeah.
for those, yeah, for the real estate. You take a
Yeah,
course?
you have Pearson's, right, or something?
Huh?
Pearson's, that, where they used to do the student test, that's like Pearson's, whatever,
Mhm.
you can go on and they'll.
Just go to Kaplan.
Online.
Just go to Kaplan.
It's Kaplan now. Used to be ProSource.
Yeah, I do, people used to.
Used to be ProSource Education.
Would be really good, but you said.
It used to be ProSource Education, now it's Kaplan.
Okay, yeah. So what are some of the other businesses you want to know about? So your businesses, talk about yours. Yeah, licensing board through probably cosmetology board, just make sure you have the license
Yeah,
there.
Minnesota State Board of Cosmetology.
Yeah, and then you are the college student, right?
Yeah.
You gonna have all kinds, you next president or something, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. No, okay, you're a college student, you have businesses, and your businesses?
It has to do with childcare.
Oh, college has a lot of licenses to childcare, a lot of
Because I
licenses.
would have to get a director's.
Don't let that stop you though. That's what stops us. That's okay. You can do all that. You can do
You
all
gentlemen
that.
that are in college, go to your dean. You can take the real estate class while you're in college for free, and then you can also take your test for free.
Oh, wow, that's great to know.
If you don't wanna do it.
Now, what business you in?
I said even if you don't wanna do it, you
My
don't-
business is Big D Services. I have a dog training company and a marketing company.
Great. Oh, marketing.
Yeah.
Marketing. Oh, good point there.
And
Marketing.
my-
Marketing is good. So you have to do
my background is
marketing.
very versed, and I used to sell a lot of real estate. I used to work for Muskie
Okay.
and ERA, and I used to actually teach the continuing ed classes for the real estate exam.
Oh, wow. I wanted to say marketing is something that's great. Marketing is something you guys can do so much better now than we pay so much money. I used to pay so much money for ads and you guys might have heard of Yellow Pages. Yellow Page ads. I'm kind of Yellow Page. You know what it is? Okay. So much. Now you guys have the Facebook and you have Instagram, which is free. You know, so as he was telling me, I must have run out of time. So the biggest thing is make sure you have your right licensing. And I'll be willing to, if you have a question, I won't charge you. Just let me know from James, whatever, what you're trying to figure out what licenses there are. I mean, I still have a lot of contact. I used to be the governor's deputy chief of staff, so I was over every single agency. And so if you're having problems with them, I still know people there. I can still make some calls. There's nothing to give you a run around, you know. But I am willing to do that for you. I mean, I admit when I was in Louisiana, there was so many more black business owners in Minnesota got to do it. I mean, it wasn't enough there, but it was sure was a whole lot. There was more black people there too. But you know, we really have to own our own businesses and build them. You know, it's nothing like having. I mean, my law firm, my own law firm, it was nothing like that. I mean, either working for the government was fun and all this, you know. There's nothing like owning my own business. That was the best thing ever for 14 years. Nothing better than that. So, if I'm open for any questions anybody have?
No, but I know I will have some.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
How much, is this group, does it help with like the sharing? For instance, now even though I'm talking about childcare, there are people in here that are already ready with real estate and have already done that. I wanna know how, like for using a certificate for the VA, that's something you have to learn too? For people with the VA loans?
So if you take a real estate course, they kind of go over that. But it's I don't necessarily know if you would have to learn it. If you're working with the agent, then it should be the agent's job to kind of know that whole process of working with the VA loan.
Okay. Are you an agent?
Yes.
Go if you want the VA loan information, go south, go into the VA office. They will give you a pre-packet to pre-loan. If you follow that part detail, because a lot of the agents will get into the loan side, but they don't have the details on it. If you go in there with they even have it on a DVD now, where you can go through it and have the information on VA. VA structuring is not hard. The fear is the agents don't want to do the improvements oftentimes in order to do a VA loan. But if you have the information on what improvements will have to be done and what improvements can be done outside the transaction, you can get into most VAs. So it's about having the knowledge.
Okay, thank you. There's one thing I want to mention to you guys, really important, because remember I mentioned that when you go to banks, you have to have, well, first of all, when you go to banks, you have to have a resolution. And a resolution is when you form your corporation or LLC, it's just a document. Oh, that thing got attacked. What the resolution says is who has the right to transact money for the business. I have a few of them, a few samples of them. Are there any copies here? I have a few. We can pass it from there. And I guess you guys can keep these. But if you go to a bank account, they say, "Where's your bank resolution?" This way.
And the issue thing, I got a text, Trevor, you just did yours, what, today, right, or yesterday?
Everything got approved, just got approved yesterday.
Yeah, yesterday, right.
Anybody need a bank resolution? Huh?
Trevor just got his resolution and
Oh, good.
everything done
Good.
just within the last, couple of days or
Good.
whatever.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, good. Yeah, you need to take that. Some
And
banks.
yours is gonna be coming in the next couple of days.
Okay. Some banks want more, some banks want a little bit more, but most banks only want the resolution which says, this is a form, which says who can transact business, financial business for your corporation.
Power of attorney almost kind of, is that similar?
It's like what?
Like, is it almost similar to a power of attorney or something like that?
No, well, I guess so, but just for your business though. So the business owner, so it's probably gonna be you signing, if you're sole firm, it's gonna be you signing that with your name on there. So that's what it's gonna look like. And one other thing you're gonna need too is you're gonna wanna make sure you get an accountant to do your profit and loss statements, because when you wanna go and get big money, you need to have, I don't even care if you're taking a loss, you just need to have banks usually want 1 to 2 years. And sometimes some banks be like, when you say, well, wait a minute, I can't make money until you have me give me money. But some banks have said 1 to 2 years. Because you may have some profits, you may have some losses, but you need to make sure you do that, have an accountant. So now I'm open up for any more questions.
So I do have a question.
Okay.
With makeup artistry, of course, I just decided to get the LLC. But for years, I've been spending like my own money on makeup artistry because it's kind of like, it's just a hustle, right? It's like braiding hair. When it comes to the money that I've invested this year, since I'm incorporated now, or I have an LLC now, I don't know if that's the same thing. But basically, how can I, like when it comes to tax time, I don't know if this is a question for right now or later, like how can I get those written off, like the stuff that I invested? Like remember we were talking, I was thinking about the cleaning service and I invested in a steam cleaner.
Yeah, you're supposed to keep record of everything you spent your money. It's like what I did for 14 years. At the end of the year, I would have everything I would keep. So I would have, you have my operating account.
Okay.
I would take my bank statements, I would get a print. I would do 2 things. I would only purchase on one card. Like when I had American Express, I used only, every business purchase was on one card, or a debit card. Debit card could be. And then I have my operating account. So I would deliver those 2 items to my accountant, and they would come up with a profit and loss statement for me, literally in a bag. I mean, like it's not even organized, just like here. And those 2 things will get. So then he prepared my taxes. And first couple of years in my law firm, I was getting money back. I mean, a lot of money back. I mean, generally so for you. And if it's another thing, it's like a tax thing. If you are an S corp, that's like another whole issue. If you are a corporation and you become an S corp, what it is that I'm speaking tax now. It means that all of your expenses that you've had comes back to you through your tax return. So in other words, you would get like, let's say you spent $4,000 in expenses, you would get, say maybe $2,000 back from or take your money out, back to you in a check to you. Not going through business.
S-corp.
Huh?
The app is an S corp.
Oh, great. You know, you speak to accountants, they're gonna always ask you to be, they're always want you to be S corp. Nobody wants, because they want to see you get money back when you can, or cutting their taxes, and it makes them look good, so then you'll come back to them. Because the worst thing they want you to do is have to pay a lot of money, so this way they want you to be an S corp. Because even when you're profitable, you just still, when I really started making money, I was getting still some money or benefits back, at least not having to pay so much money in the S corp. So you can Google that. Google S corps and the advantages of being an S corp versus anything else. Okay.
I have one more thing.
Okay.
Research. How much research do you think we should do concerning like pitfalls and stuff? Not for negativeness, but
For as much as you can.
As much as you can.
Definitely as much as you can. There's so much stuff out there on the internet. When I first started my business, I didn't have all of that. There's so much you can learn on the internet about whatever kind of business you're doing. Another thing you gave me an idea I want to mention too. Try to do it free. Everything on the internet you can learn about your business on the internet. And then if not, I used to order books on Amazon. I remember I had this book on how to start a law practice. And that book was amazing. It was like step by step by step. And it was, great.
Tell her to go to the library, because the librarian standing behind the desk that has nothing to do will direct you with all of that information. And it's still there.
COVID. We're closing our Mitchell Hammond. We're closing our library down again.
Again?
Yeah, close it back again. Because of the numbers up. So we just closed it back. Close actually Monday. Monday's closed.
Yeah, I just want to add that I have a book too. Is kind of follow along with what you're talking about, is license and all that stuff. If anybody wants, I can bring it next group and make copies or whatever. But it goes directly with it too.
Yeah, and thank
it's
you.
the 2020 edition too.
That's great. I wonder if it's one, because the Better Business Bureau puts out a book. Is that
Every year, that's what it is.
That is a very good book on step by step of licenses. It has all the different departments. It's excellent. It's free. It's Better Business Bureau puts it out online every year.
I got it. I go to St. Paul College, but I took the summer off because I have 3 classes before I transfer for my master's. That's what I'm going for, business management. But I had took a course this semester that just passed, and we got the book free. So I'm happy to bring it.
But I always saw it online.
Yeah, but it's
online
too. Yeah.
It's online. Yeah, Better Business Bureau. I think it's called Starting a Business in Minnesota, I believe, something like that. Yeah.
But it covers like everything, like you were saying. Yeah.
A question?
Yeah, I was just going to add to that. The SBA website has a lot of good information on there too. I learned a lot on there about the different corporations and even how to write a business plan. They have templates and everything.
Yeah, of course. Of course, everybody needs your business plan for you to go to the bank and ask for money, right? So you definitely have to have that. Yeah.
Minnesota.gov. Go on there and check out anything you're looking for business related as far as information when it comes to incorporating or expanding, and they'll often connect you to the SBA as well to look up some information, or the federal government if it's comes to getting an EIN or whatever the case might be. But Minnesota.gov is definitely another good place to start, along with the Better Business Bureau.
Yep. So there's resources out there for everybody. So all we gotta do is just keep going. Don't just stop. Your business needs to keep going, and then get a second business, And then when you start hiring people, get somebody you can trust. If you can't trust them, get rid of them. My kids used to tell me in my law firm, used to say, "Mom, we're not even trying to learn people's names because you fire me before we get to know who they are. So people know their names."
How you can left that out?
I was like, "I didn't want to know that."
You're trying to be positive here.
It's true. You gotta get people who you can trust to grow. You can't have people who are in your way. They're not in, you gotta let them go. You gotta go. It's business. Sometimes family members are the worst. Sometimes they're the best. It's business, Question.
So you used to help open businesses, but have you ever had somebody present to you opening and starting like a franchise?
No, I haven't. But I had I had one guy who opened, this is interesting, I'll tell you this story first time. He started a cleaning service, which was him and his wife. He had no intentions of being just, I'm tired of my job, she started her job, and they started a cleaning service. They did a good job every day. They were on time, they were dependable, they were excellent. He hired 2 people. So it was him and 2 people, and those 4 people did so much work. They did the work no one else wanted. And work no one else wanted. And he said, you know what? He says, I feel like if I want to grow this thing to be big, I said, so this is what you got to do. If you want to be big, you got to get contracts. Because sometimes you got to get contracts to be big. You don't ever be in work people come calling you. It's just too much. So I said, well, let's try to get a contract at Southern University. So it's in Louisiana, Southern University Law, Southern University undergrad. You know, he went to them first, and they're like, oh, we have Janet King doing everything. You know, they're huge, right? And so we met again and said, look, let's see if we can just get a small part of it. We don't even want all of it. Let's just see if we can do the summer turnaround. It's when all the students go home in the summer. And Janet King never really liked that part because they didn't think it's love. They want to do the glamorous part. So we actually got the turnaround for just a couple buildings, a couple dorms, honors dorms, a few others. And then he just grew. But he had growing pains now. He had growing pains with staff because people wouldn't show up. And they wouldn't show up, he had to show up, you know? So that was the biggest thing was growing pains. But he didn't franchise. What he did, he wanted to grow to someone so Janet King would buy him out. And that's what he did. He ended up getting the whole contract for Southern University. And guess what? Janet King was knocking on his door, and they bought him out, and him and his wife are retired and have this beautiful house and living wonderfully, you know, a great life. So, franchise would be great. I like the franchise. Call me in. I want a franchise.
I would tell them how that's kind of a part of the Black Line Autos business plan. Go ahead and tell them.
Franchise?
The 5-year plan on your business plan?
Oh, I don't know. You tell them.
I don't know.
Anyway.
I mean, all different things. Yeah, I'm done. Thank you
No, I was
guys.
talking
I'll
about
talk to you
this.
guys. Oh, you got a question?
Yeah, I guess the reason I was asking about the franchise and not even like starting a business, a franchise, but purchasing a franchise stuff, like there are I think there are prime locations just for like a couple fast food spots to where, you know, the outer metro areas are kind of developing more homes and building that, you know, they lack kind of the necessities. Like, so have you helped, you know?
I have advised a client on franchise before, so let me tell you. So, actually, there was a client in Louisiana who wanted to do McDonald's. But the way they are, you don't get to live, you have to go where they tell you. So he actually ended up moving to, North Carolina. So he lived in Baton Rouge, but he actually did buy it. He came into the minority McDonald's program. Sometimes they still have those problems, they still have it. This was like about 10 years ago. But they said, okay, we can do it with you. And it was, at the time, it was like about $200,000. It was a deal for McDonald's. And, but it was in a small town, his moved his family and everything there. So a lot of times the franchises, you know, you have to move. But I actually started looking at some like the ones that are reasonable, like the Subways were cheap, and some of the cleaning ones are cheaper. The cleaning ones are probably the cheapest ones I've seen. I looked at them sometimes. But franchising, I have to talk to you about it, and I can actually connect with some people that do it. He's the only client I ever advised was that person franchising.
Okay.
But if you're interested, I can find some lawyers that do that. Okay.
Talk to Sammy. Sammy, Rowan. I thought I heard some whispers that he open to opportunity of franchising. I think his model would be great, especially black owned.
What kind of business is that? Oh,
It's Sammy's Eater on
okay.
You know, I know he does a lot of catering. I know he's got his brick and mortar.
Okay.
But I heard whispers as I was going in there that he was thinking about, or I saw something about maybe possibly franchising. I think he got a good model, you know.
Yeah.
So further the point, or just add a point, you know, everybody, not everybody, how we've been talking about everybody owning your own business and having your own business, but owning the property is really where it's at, because like James was talking about earlier, my first business, I've been a barber for 23 years, so my first business was a barbershop. I got into it early. I started making good money early as a barber, and I was able to purchase my first barbershop that I worked in. But what I didn't understand going into it, and nobody pulled my tail onto it, is that me just paying that rent, I wasn't getting no equity. I was just giving money away. And that's just money gone. So I had 5-6 years of my career as a barber, owning my own business. Yeah, it was great. My name on the window, we had a good time. I met a lot of people, met a lot of cool people. But when it's all said and done, I spent ridiculous amount of money with nothing to show for it. And I even tried to talk to my landlord about just giving me, like, let me get 2% of equity with what I'm giving you every month, just so I can start building a portfolio to have something. He wasn't trying to hear it, because he's a tight-wide Lebanese dude at the time, and he was just trying to get all his money. He wanted everything.
Now, in contrast, my family owned a liquor store across the street for 40, 50 years from his barbershop. In contrast, we own the land, we own the business as well.
There you go.
When we sold the business, and the land as well, we got $700,000 for the property.
Yep.
Less than half of that for the actual business. Even though it was $2 million, $3 million a year in liquor, we got more for the property, you know, and it was on 48th in Chicago. So it's right there at the precipice between, still kind of urban, but it's right on the precipice by Minnehaha. So, you know, we got way more for the business, so it's very important to own the building. Like going back to the McDonald's thing, McDonald's don't make money selling burgers. They make money on real estate.
They're a real estate company. They don't sell burgers or fries, they sell real estate.
And I want to add to the business too. So I own my own law firm. I mean, I own it. It was a brand new construction building. But actually, and we got a good deal on it, but actually I would never met the realtor in person until the closing. Because I was finding that I was meeting these realtors and they were like trying to help me get these things closed. So I just stopped showing up. I stopped literally not meeting them in person because they know I was black. So they didn't know when I got to the closing for that business, they thought that I was the runner or something. When we walked in, the girl said, I said, I'm here for the closing, blah, blah, blah. And she says, do you have documents? I said, what do you mean documents? Well, you got great. I said, I know, I'm buying the building. And she was like, oh my God. And so I don't know, sometimes I just stay in the background sometimes to get a good deal, because I felt like the realtor was really not helping us. And we got another one, we fired her, got another one. And just, you know, you just do what you have to do. And so I just said, I saw the property, I knew it was new construction. The guy who had the building next to it was the same identical one. I went and looked at his, never even looked at it. I knew it was brand new. I saw the plans. I said I want it. So, showed up, and it was like, oh my gosh, you just gave this good deal to this black woman.
That's the way they roll.
Especially in the South, oh man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah. They were trying to just cancel my appointment. Like, oh, it's not available anymore. We got to buy it. Like, but who?
You know, someone does the same thing.
You know?
Someone does the same thing.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to be the little white girl in the background and get my business. So, well, thank you guys. It's been fun talking to you. Thank you.